What is up, DMV Hoops fans? Welcome to another Believe in DMV Hoops. I'm Matt Moderno. I've got a great guest joining me here today, assistant coach at American University, Jackie Manuel. Jackie, how are things? How was your 4th of July? How was your weekend?
Things are good, Matt. I appreciate you for having me. 4th of July was amazing. Spent a lot of time with family. Actually got back last night. I was down in Myrtle Beach
Oh, cool.
with the family. So spent a lot of time by the pool and the beach.
There you go. That's the way it should be. Not out on the road traveling, watching high school games at the moment. You guys need a little break in there.
Just a little bit.
That's awesome. Before we get too far into this, we're brought to you by Stateside Vodka and their Surfside hard iced teas, hard lemonades, hard every flavor you can think of. They're all delicious. And BetOnline, it's your number one source for all your sports betting needs. This season, MLB, golf, UFC, boxing, everything you can think of. All the latest stats, news, and scores available for your favorite teams. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports, player props, odds, everything you can think of. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right, so I mentioned this before we started recording. I'm a Maryland alum, but I have the old ACC roots and biases sometimes here too. You joined up with another Terp, Dwayne Simpkins at American. I think a lot of times, where people end up on what staffs are based on, relationships and things like that. I guess, how did you end up at American? Did you know Dwayne previously? Kind of talk us through that a little bit.
So Coach Simp, I did not know him. I just remember watching him play and remember how good their team was. And him and I happened to be on the same staff at UNCG, starting 2012 to, I want to say, 2015. And just build a really strong relationship from there. And we would always talk about if he got a job, I would be working on his staff, and never knew when that opportunity was gonna happen. But when it did, it was a no-brainer for me. And the phone call was made, and it all worked out.
You spent some time coaching at your alma mater at North Carolina too. Was that hard to leave, or was it just, hey, I got to keep, building and growing my career here a little bit, so it's time to branch out?
It was a little bit of both. I was, torn. Family was very comfortable and obviously happy. My wife works for University of North Carolina. But I was in a position that going on my 3rd year as more of a support staff role after being an assistant. And so I wanted the challenge of being back on the road, being assistant, being out there and coaching on the court. This is before the new rule change and everything.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. So when you're doing more player development stuff at the time, you couldn't be kind of the same, on-court coach, basically, right?
It was more of like developing the person and not the basketball game.
That makes sense. Yeah, definitely glad they changed that. If we've got this many smart people in the building to help these kids get better, why not actually take advantage of it?
You would think, right? You would think you would utilize the people and the pieces that you have, the resources that you have.
Always like taking questions from the chat here, and we've got a really good one here already. Mr. Dwayne Simpkins is in the chat and says, ask Jackie about his defense in practice. So one of the questions I was going to ask you is both Matt Rogers and Lincoln Ball told me that you got in and practiced with the guys a little bit last year and it still put the clamps on people. So can you still go? Is that accurate reporting from these guys?
I went out there and then I went out there no more because I hurt my back towards the end of the year. Sidelined me for about a month and a half. But no, once the juices are flowing, it's hard to stop myself from jumping out there between the lines and being super competitive. And I think the guys didn't know and realize what they were getting themselves into when they started talking trash. But just trying to, show them just a competitive side of no matter who you're playing against. Once you jump between those lines, it's about me doing my job at the highest possible ability that I can do it and winning, helping my team win. And so it's hard to break that mindset.
I bet. And that's honestly was a nice luxury for the team. I'm sure last year you guys had a lot of injuries down the stretch. Yeah. So just having enough bodies to get through a practice was probably super appreciated for everybody else too.
Yeah. I mean, I went from blowing my whistle to like literally getting warmed up, jumping into stretching and found myself going through the full practice. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm back.
Yeah, exactly. Got any eligibility left here, coach?
Right. I wish.
You don't get the 5th COVID, you're the same way, right?
No, I need like 2 or 3. I need
There you go.
to get something back.
I like it. Yeah, I think that was probably cool for those guys too. Just knowing, your resume and things like that. It's probably a treat for them, and also just fun to get out there with somebody that that they're hearing from and is in their ear the rest of the time too.
Yeah, it makes the coaching part a little easier.
Yeah, for sure.
When you can, coach can do the things that he's asking, right? He's asking us to do. Okay, let me listen to him.
That's honestly something I've asked a lot of coaches on this show is how much, their players really kind of understand their pedigree, especially locally. Like there's some really good coaches in this area that played at a high level. And I wonder just kind of how much historical knowledge, like, are you showing guys video? Like, hey, just so you know, like I could go. Is it make it a little more easy from a credibility standpoint?
The not the video. The one thing I did show, and it wasn't like a braggadocious type thing, but I just wanted them, to see the rings, championship rings, and
that's cool.
Because you want to create a vision for those guys of what that looks like, what that feels like, and what they can accomplish. And so as you tell the story about my first year and my last year at Carolina, you want to create that dream for them. Like it's possible. So I did bring that in early in the year so they can just get that, into their spirit and everything, their mind.
Yeah, I think seeing that in person has a little more weight to it than just looking at a picture of it. And,
right.
And, what it takes to go out and earn that thing. And you had kind of the full experience from freshman to senior year there of what it was like to build a team. So I'm sure that's really impactful for some of these younger guys, especially.
Absolutely.
So you wanted a high level in high school. You wanted a high level in college. For anyone not familiar, you were a national champion in 2005 at North Carolina. Do you think that helps you kind of make points with guys like, hey, this is what it takes to win? And obviously goals at every program are a little different in terms of what they're actually competing for, but like winning is winning, right? Like, so are there things that this translates no matter what level we're playing at?
Yeah, I think it starts the conversation, what I mean, where guys are open to listening to what you have to say. And then you have to bring it down to where they are.
Sure. And
then you have to help them believe something that they've never maybe quite accomplished or seen before. Because to me, that's the toughest part is like, everybody understands like, yeah, I want to win and I want to win a championship, but it's like, what does that look like the day to day? So being able to get in practice kind of help that process as well. Like day to day is like this, and it's not something I look at as, oh man, we got to go to practice. Like, no, like I'm excited about practice because it's an opportunity for me to get better. So really, really trying to instill that into our guys. And I think our guys are coming in now with a different mindset than last year.
You were a captain, one of 3 on a college team that won a national championship. Several NBA guys on it. Probably half that roster played professionally at a minimum at some level. So obviously you have the leadership DNA there. Did you know kind of from that age, hey, someday I want to get into coaching? Is that something that you were always kind of interested in doing, down the road?
I tried my hardest to run away from coaching. I mean, every time I turned around, this is like my senior year and going forward into my professional career, I would have different people, mention, hey man, you will make a great coach like you. And I was like, well, that means I'm not playing. And I haven't even processed that in my head. So no, thank you. It wasn't until my 3rd or 4th year playing professionally where, as guys were graduating and they were coming in into the G League, it was like I found myself wanting to help those guys more and more, like things that they didn't know, like try to give them wisdom and everything. And I think it kind of really hit home then in a couple years, I'd say my third year, and a couple years after that, I was like, hey, this is what I want to do. It's time for me to move on.
I think a lot of times when you look at guys that played in their coaching background and things like that, there are a lot of former point guards
Yeah.
and a lot of centers too. I feel like are usually like the big man coaches, but there aren't a lot of like wing stoppers. I guess why don't we see more guys like you that could kind of really like lock people down? I think defense travels would apply to coaching as well here.
Yeah, because they're probably still playing.
That's a good point. Yeah, that's a really good call.
I'm not sure. I think everybody kind of finds their own path, and it's, sometimes it's coaching. Sometimes it's something else. I do know, like, the point guards, a lot of point guards, and when you're just thrust in those leadership roles, it kind of carries over to the coaching role. So that's a good question. Maybe we can change that up a little bit.
I like it. There's something to it, I think. Last year was the first season at American. We mentioned some of the injuries. I really enjoyed your guys' team. I told Coach Simpkins this. Just the vibe felt different. It looked like guys had fun, and just it's no knock on the previous staff, but just certain times, certain voices I think resonate with certain groups of guys, and it just seemed like a vibe shift from the year before. I guess can you walk through a little bit about what that process was like? And everybody talks about culture, so I kind of hate using that word, but you guys are trying to establish a foundation there, and what does that look like?
Well, you can't take away from the previous staff, you know what I mean? And I've been a part of that as a player, and as a coach. The foundation was laid for a lot of those guys who were, seniors and older guys. And so there's some things that we didn't have to do because it was already there. And then for us, is just coming in and creating the mindset and the culture that Coach Simp envisioned and wanted for the program to move in a direction that, he wanted it to move in. And it was an adjustment. It was adjustment. Anytime you take on something new from a coaching standpoint and from a player standpoint, there's going to be there's going to be a process in the journey where guys have to understand what's going on and what this means for not only our team, but their individual success. And we're all human, and we all go through that process differently. I remember as a player for myself, it was right away. For some of my teammates, it might have took a few months to a year to really just buy into, what, at the end of the day, I want to be successful. I want our team to win. And then all the personal accolades will follow that. And so once they realized that, like, and I remember Coach Williams telling us this story. He said, I promise you this, if we win a national championship, everybody will benefit.
Yep.
Now, everybody's not going to play in the NBA, right? That's not going to be the case. But I promise you, everybody will benefit. And I would say, speaking for my teammates, a lot of us, if not all of us, have benefited in some form, some fashion from doing that. So just trying to, give our guys that same message. Everybody's going to benefit. It could be now, it could be 15 years from now, but I do know this: everybody wants a winner in their organization, or they want to be a part of that, or want to know how that was accomplished. And so they're going to try to pull those people into that organization as much as possible.
Yeah, that's a great point, and you've got guys at a really good academic university that are playing for you here now too, and it's winning in and off the court. Like the things that they learn can apply in the business rooms or the boardrooms and things like that too. So
absolutely,
it gets a little cliche sometimes, but there's a reason people say these things where like a rising tide lifts all ships, and I think that's totally true.
Yes.
Just how was the year for you? I guess just thoughts for next year, like where are we at with kind of building this culture?
No, the year was great. I think I haven't said this about many teams that I've been a part of, but this team reach their full potential. And that says a lot. That when we got towards the end of the year, like our guys gave it everything that they could possibly give. So it was that's all you can ask for as a coach. So it was a great year. We learned a lot. We learned a lot about ourselves. As our players, we learned a lot about ourselves as a staff. Things that we did that we loved and say we're going to continue that, and then things that we did where we were like, you know what, let's tweak and adjust some things and see how we can make it better. And so one of those things for me personally is really I watched our guys and how they responded in tough moments. And the moment sometimes was really big for our guys. And you look at all the good teams in those moments, they don't blink an eye. It's like, okay, we're down by 10. Cool. Great. We've been prepared for this. Oh, we're up by 10. Cool. Let's continue to, push this lead to, another 10 points. So really just encouraging our guys to play with confidence, practice with confidence, and figure things out. Like, we can't try to hold your hand with everything. There's things that you guys have to figure out as individuals and as a group to push your maturation forward. So really, really honing in on that as a whole.
I think last year's team, I caught just about every game, I would say, and there were a couple of things where you guys would have a rough loss, and it was cool to see these guys respond, and it's kudos to them, but kudos to you guys. Like the Georgetown game, losing that in overtime, after beating them the year before, it was like, that's got to get in their head a little bit of, hey, we could have beaten them 2 years in a row, and then that's a gritty Mount St. Mary's team the next game, and you guys responded well and won a tight game down the stretch. So it's clearly they took something away from that first game. And I said this to Matt on a previous episode too, but there was a Loyola game in February that was maybe the ugliest basketball game I've ever seen. And, you guys were a good offensive team, and that was like a definition of a rock fight. And, suffered another tough, close loss right after that, the Holy Cross, but beat like a really scrappy Navy team right after that by like pretty soundly. So it seemed like those guys like did the best they could to kind of answer the mail and bounce back from things like that.
Yeah, and they did. And that's all you can, like, as a coach, that's all you can ask for. I mean, our guys play hard. They play together, and they tried every day to do the right things. And that's the foundation that we wanted to lay, for this program, is to have that type of culture and that mindset, and then continually building on that is where we are now. Like it's like, I mean, you should see it's like night and day now. Just being with the team, like guys know exactly what to do and how to do it and how to police each other. So it's a beautiful thing to watch already.
You've got a good amount of key contributors back from last year's team, which is obviously great as you're trying to continue to establish that foundation. Now you get guys in year two, like they get the expectations and things like that. Just as an assistant coach, sort of what's your role in continuing to like reinforce those standards with those guys? And do you pull guys aside individually? Is it like sometimes with an NBA team, guys will have 3 or 4 players they work with directly? Like, how does that work on a college staff? Or are you speaking to the group as a whole as needed?
I think it's just fluid. I think it's as needed, and sometimes it's pulling an individual or individuals to the side. Sometimes it's communicating to the whole. Sometimes it's feeding off, Coach Simp or our coaching staff. I think every day is different. What we try to do is give them, kind of the building blocks of where we're going, and then trying to get everybody to understand that you're a leader. Like, no matter if you believe it or not, or if you feel like your voice is big enough or not, like you're leading somebody in some sort of direction. So let's lead our team in the direction that we want to, we want to head into.
Lincoln was on here and mentioned he saw a big jump in Matt Rogers as a leader, and Matt was on here and said he mentioned, focusing on trying to be more of a lead by example and not just sort of be like kind of an emotional guy on the court so much. Is
Yeah.
that something that you worked with him specifically on?
I think we all do. As a staff,
Mm-hmm.
it's good to have people you can go to, not just one guy,
Sure.
And I think we all do in whatever time he needs it. Sometimes I can be the guy who gives tough love,
Mm-hmm.
because it's like, no, we have to have this mindset. And sometimes it can be like, hey man, don't be so hard on yourself. Like, give yourself some grace.
Mm-hmm.
But I think our staff does a really good job of providing our players with the love that they need in that moment, which I think the guys really like, because it's not just being hard all the time. It's kind of figuring out in that moment, where's he at? What does he need? Okay, how can we get him to move on and then learn from it?
Are there experiences you can take from guys you played with at different levels, whether it's in college or overseas or in the G League or anything like that? Like a Raymond Felton, a speedy point guard, somebody like that. You've got Elijah Stevens that is quick with the ball and without the ball as maybe anybody in the conference. Are there little pieces you can take from those past relationships that you can impart on some of these guys as well?
Oh, every piece, like from playing to coaching to any little thing that I've learned, try to utilize to help our guys. With Elijah, is like, okay, pick your spots, especially from defensive standpoint. Him and I talked about picking see how good the ball handler is. If he's not, then you just, do your deal. But if he's good, like, sneak up on him a little bit. Don't try to be super aggressive every possession. So those little things that I've learned, watching Raymond and Ty Lawson, watching those guys offensively win the attack. They get in the open court and they're just like, oh yeah, I'm faster than you and I'm attacking. And then they get into moments where they're like, okay, this person needs the ball. Let me make sure he touches it. So with all our guys, just trying to instill those nuggets, playing with Sean May with the bigs, working with the bigs, like, him being the type of player where he's like, hey, my hands are good. You can throw it anywhere. And he's giving me this big target to work with, or throw it away from this guy at this angle, so it's trying to help Matt Rogers and those guys.
Usually you hear coaches sort of, here's the side of the ball they gravitate toward. This is the defensive-minded coach, things like that. Are you a defensive-minded coach? It seems like a natural fit, but is that sort of the end of the ball you prefer, or sometimes it's the opposite? So I'm just kind of curious.
No, I'm definitely a defensive-minded coach. My mindset, but I'm also intelligent to know that we got to score points. Right? Like,
and then
we got to score.
The two flow into each other, right?
Absolutely, they all work together. But yeah, defense. I love defense, and I love the impact that you can make and the momentum and the energy you create from the defensive end that can help you on the offensive end. So
we talked a little bit about the role changing and how at UNC that player development role could really be a person development kind of thing. And I think the cool side of that was it was pretty well publicized that year. I think how much you helped a guy like Leaky Black kind of just find a comfortable space for himself and kind of help from the mental health perspective. And obviously you're doing more on court stuff now too, but hopefully that's still an area where you can continue to impact guys, because that was really cool to hear about.
Yeah. Leaky, we build a really good relationship along with a lot of other guys there, and just try to find a safe space. Sometimes you have the resources in place, but as a player, you just don't feel the safe space because that's not what you've been taught, right? So just try to provide a safe space for those guys, and then as you tell stories, like, you realize, like, it's not just me, and so, really, really enjoy having those moments, because that's what it's about. At the end of the day, when it's all said and done, I get a phone call from Leaky, and he's like, man, I appreciate you. Like, it's because of you. It's like, that's why you do it. So when with our current roster and our current guys, it's the same thing. They're young guys becoming men. And they have this journey that they're on and trying to figure out who I am as a person, and what is this thing that I'm feeling, and so just trying to create that same space of like, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to be nervous and
Sure.
frustrated, and for Matt Rogers, at times emotional. Is you care, you're passionate. Mm-hmm. Let's find a space, and we can go, as deep as you want, with this, and see how we can work through whatever you're going through. So,
and guys have to meet you halfway on that, right? Like you can offer that to people, and they got to take advantage. So I liked hearing that story, and I just watched him hit a couple jumpers in a summer league game the other day for the Hornets. So hopefully, he can kind of stick around and have a nice long career too.
Yeah, I hope so too. I hope the foundation has been laid, and he can. I told him this, and I tell all our guys, I say, now you got to do me one favor, okay? You got to give back.
Yeah. Right.
So
pay it forward.
You got to pay it forward. Your testimony, everything you've gone through, you just got to give it back to somebody who's going to come to you and ask for the same type of help. So
yeah, that's great. And honestly, like Leaky reminded me of you as a player, like that, so like it just, that starts with the on-court similarities. And then you probably find out, hey, there's some other experiences I've had that relate to you as well.
Absolutely.
That's cool. Mentioned the G League route. You were back in the D League days. For some of the guys listening to this might, we're of that era where we still remember the D League, but a lot of guys playing in the Patriot League probably not going to be NBA players. There's probably a few G Leaguers or overseas players and things like that. So does it actually help you kind of steer these guys in the right direction because you've played at that level that they're probably looking to play at?
Yeah, it does. It does. Guys want to know what is it like, what is there to expect, and and you're able to give them that advice and paint that picture for them, so it doesn't seem so far-fetched, or it doesn't seem so overwhelming. And but with our guys and the guys that I've coached in the past, it's, don't look at basketball as just, I want to go overseas, I want to go play professional. I want to look at it as you're actually building a foundation for whatever you want to do. And that's how I try to get them to really buy into the process of working on their games, process of working with a teammate. It's like you're learning skills that's going to help you
in
going forward. Yeah, and everything that you do. So if you continue to play, guess what? You have the foundation. If not, you still have the foundation.
Yeah, skill development applies to pretty much every career. So,
absolutely.
How are you feeling about next year's team? I guess you guys are pretty solid on what the group will look like for next year at this point. So
feel good. We're gonna win it all, and
I love it. There you go. That's what I was looking for.
No, I feel like we're in a good place. We're in a good space. You can see it from the first workout. You can see the energy is different. The confidence is there. Guys are not unsure about what to do. Am I doing this correctly? And that's when you have something good, when they're doing things with confidence and helping each other. Things are gonna move in a good way. So
from the outside looking in, it feels like there's a little bit of this kind of vibe of unfinished business, right? Like, you mentioned that this team probably, hit the highest level it could hit last year, but there was obviously some injuries and things like that. And everybody's a year better. And guys like Matt Mayock, not a freshman anymore, got some sea legs under him. So it just feels like these guys are looking at like, hey, we can make a real run at this league title. Is that kind of the vibe in the locker room as well, too?
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, as a coach, I hope so. Right? That's the mindset you want. That's the mentality that you want. You're never sitting up here saying we're playing for second place. Or you want what they experienced last year, you want them to say, you know, it's possible. Like we did it with 8 guys for a stretch. Like it's very possible. And then you want that to carry over to this year and in the mindset of, okay, what do we need to do every single day? And how do we need to compete every single day? And how do we need to encourage each other and build each other every single day and understand that journey? Like once you set your goal, it's like all about now the journey. So you want them to fall in love with the journey, the process of becoming a really good team.
Love it.
Yeah.
You played for arguably one of the Mount Rushmore level coaches of all time as college basketball coaches in Roy Williams. Are there, I don't know, I'm sure there are plenty, but is there like one main thing you took from him as a coach that you've kind of applied to your own coaching? Like, is there a key thing that's kind of, hey, I really liked the way he did this with a team that I'd like to kind of apply to how I coach?
There's the confidence that Coach Williams gave us is, and you didn't realize it at the time what he was doing, but he gave us so much confidence on the court. And it would be things like, hey, we're going to get this stop and we're going to score and then we're going to get another stop. And we're down by 6.
Right.
You know, but he gave us that much confidence. And you do that one time and all of a sudden, when he says it again, you're like, oh yeah, we're literally about to do that. Because, you know, and so that's the thing that as a coach that I've really tried to work on, you know, because you can get caught in the space of trying to, you know, demanding, right? Okay, do it better. But maybe being contradictive a little bit and not really building confidence for those guys. So really trying to work on like, hey, at the end of the day, you guys have been playing basketball for a very long time. You know, go out there and do that and do it to the best of your ability. And so Coach really gave us that and really set the tone for like the championship run that we made. You know?
I mean this as a compliment to him, but he also seemed like kind of a character, right? Any particularly lasting stories that you can share with us here that hey, this is my one go-to Roy story that sticks with you?
Oh yeah, Coach. There was it was an ACC tournament. We were actually up in DC.
Okay.
And we played Clemson the first round, and or our first game, and we struggled. Like at halftime, he gave us a speech like we're about to get back on this bus, and as soon as we get back to Chapel Hill, we're practicing. So we were like, oh, okay, let's get our act together. And so the next game, we played Georgia Tech, and we lost double digits. And we got back, you know, we had a day or so off. We got back preparing for the NCAA tournament. And we walk in the gym, and there's no rims on the basket. And he
That's
says,
old school, man.
yeah, he's like, for the next 2 or 3 days, this is going to be an all defensive practice. And literally, he just took it to us. It was some of the hardest practices leading into an NCAA tournament that I've ever been a part of. But he got his message across, you know.
Sure.
He definitely got that across.
Hey, sometimes you got to find unique ways to get through to certain groups, and you know, weight of expectations with that team was probably a tough thing to battle through, you know, the whole year too.
And we're looking at him like, man, does this guy really think we're going to do an offensive drill with no hoop?
So were you shooting toward
literally shooting? Yeah. We're doing real drills, 5-on-5 live, shooting shots, and it was just everything's an air ball. And you're just like, what are we doing?
I have not heard that one before, but that is a pretty unique way to go about it. That's cool. I got a quote for you here from you about Roy that I thought was pretty interesting. He said, going into my first conversation with Coach Williams, he laid it out. Here's the deal. Here's how you're going to help. Your numbers shooting wise are not good. So we're not going to do that. And if there's something that you aren't able to do or wanting to accept, then you can leave and I'll help you the best, where I can. And you said that wasn't what I was expecting. After that conversation, I talked to my father and I was like, yeah, I'm not going anywhere. You bought into that. I feel like not every guy kind of responds the way I'm hoping, I'm sure Coach Williams was hoping you'd respond. Is that level of just sort of honesty and transparency also something that you try to incorporate in your coaching here too? Because
Yeah.
sometimes you got to be real with people like that, and I don't think everybody at every level is. So it's a tough thing to do.
Loved it. Like best thing that could have ever happened. I did not want to leave North Carolina. Like that's why I chose there. Like,
Sure.
And so to me, it was going to take more than that.
Yep.
Like you're going to have to drag me out of Chapel Hill. But the thing that I loved about it is, like you said, the transparency. Like it was my choice, right? Because he was honest with me. I knew exactly what I was dealing with, or, what the responsibility or role was going to be. And so I was able to make the choice, which made the buy-in easier. Because like I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm
signed up for this, right?
Yeah, this is what I signed up for. So there's no surprise. I don't have to say, okay, dang, coach didn't do this, or he said he was going to do. No, he said your minutes are going to be different. Your shot attempts are going to be different. And guess what? It was different. Right. And I was cool with it. And I went out there and I competed my butt off. And, it helped me as a player. Those 2 years were my best 2 years as a basketball player because coach made the game really simple for me. Like, I'm not giving you a whole lot of stuff to think about. Sure. Do this, this, and this. Help our team win.
Yeah, I mean, that's you hear a lot of times from guys after they played where, like, I had a very different expectation going into a year on what my role with the team would be. And I think that's not the best way to get the best results from people if you're not all on the same page. So I thought that was really cool to hear.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, we as people, we all want that transparency.
Sure. Yeah.
You may not be mature enough to handle it early, but at some point, you want somebody just to be very straightforward with you and say, "Hey, this is what it is," and now it's your choice, right? And that's what we do with our players. Like, are they going to like it all the time? No, but at least you know where we're coming from, and we'll be happy to give you the reasons why, so you know why we're doing it. And so, at the end of the day, as you continue with your career and you get into the next phase of your life, you say, you know what, those guys were very honest with me. And I've had some guys like that who end up transferring and get a phone call a year later and be like, man, I appreciate everything you've done. I was like, you know what I mean? That's what we're here for, to help. Yeah. So,
you mentioned just one piece of that was really interesting is we're happy to tell you why piece. And I've heard this from coaches that this sort of generation of kids now, like, or young men now, they ask why a lot more, or they need the why a lot more. Is that something you've noticed from guys too?
Yeah. And it's, my kids are like that. They want to know why. Sure. And it's fine. For me, it's like, because, it's different when I was coming up. And I think it really started to change with my generation when we were coming up. We started to ask more why. We were coming out of that time period of just doing it because. And we started to ask more why. But the why is good because now you get to know the vision.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. This is why. This is how this can help you. This is why we're not doing this. So now it makes the buy-in. I think the buy-in is a lot
what's
easier.
happening more.
Yeah. And it gives them ownership. I think that's the piece. As coaches, you're like, these guys always want to know why. But knowing why gives you ownership of what we're doing. Because now you know exactly where we want to drive this ship. Now it's your choice. Are you going to be on board or are you not?
Last one I got for you here on the UNC stuff. It's a crime to me that Jawad Williams did not have more interest from NBA teams. I never understood that one. So as someone who played with him directly, am I crazy here? Like, this just seemed like a dude that, I don't know, got overlooked because he was older, maybe. I don't know, but it always just seemed like he would have fit in perfectly, especially today, as kind of that hybrid for.
Yeah, I don't know why, because Jawad was an NBA talent. He had all the gifts that an NBA player has. He can shoot it. He was 6'9". length, athleticism, you know. So I don't know why the whole draft process happened the way it happened, but it was only a matter of time. And you know, he was able to get in there and play in Cleveland with LeBron, but you can't deny a person who is definitely an NBA player. And Jawad, you know, no matter what happened, how it happened, he couldn't be denied, you know. So
yeah, I was glad to see that, because that was the dude. Every time I watched, I'm like, what am I missing here? So that was cool.
sometimes I don't know. You just
People like
sometimes
to overthink it a little bit.
yeah, you fall into the older, you know, been here for a while. We've seen them for, you know, but a basketball player is a basketball player, you know.
Yep, totally with you. All right, just a couple rapid fire ones to close it out here. What's one thing people might not know about you that you're willing to share with us, whether it's a guilty pleasure TV show or music or hidden talent, any of that kind of thing?
I'm actually learning Spanish right now.
Okay, cool.
I got a 700 and I think a 700-day streak going.
Oh, that's awesome.
Going on. So
Okay.
little Duolingo love right
Yeah,
now.
just something you just wanted to do to pick up, or any particular motivation?
Like ever since I was in UNCG,
Mhm.
Coach Semper and I was there. We had a kid, Francis Alonso
Okay.
from Spain, Malaga, and him and one of our other international players. They would just have their own little deal, and I was like, man, that's just so cool. It's just
Yeah.
like to have that own like that connection there,
Mhm.
and so that it started there, and it's been going. And I've tried several times and just stopped because I'm like, oh my god.
It's a big commitment.
Yeah, it's a huge commitment. And now I'm just like, I'm all in. Like
That's awesome.
my wife and I plan to visit Spain next year. And
Oh,
so
cool.
I just want to just add layers to who I am.
All right, in a couple more years, I want to hear that you were angling for the next abroad trip that the team goes on here. They
Oh
got to
yeah.
get to Spain. You got to put it to use at that point, right?
Oh yeah. And I'm gonna lead the way. I'm gonna be the tour
Yep.
guy.
There you go. That's the move. Very cool. What's one thing you do for fun outside of basketball other than learn Spanish?
And just hang out with my family. I spend a lot of time my kids. My son and I we're Call of Duty.
There you go.
Or when I get home, the kids we play this tickling wrestling game. I just like to spend time with them. They're growing up so fast. I got 16-year-old daughter, 11-year-old daughter, 6-year-old son, and time is flying by
I bet.
every day. So I try to, when I get home, I'm not working, not recruiting, just spend a lot of time with the family.
That's great to hear, and shout out to Coach Simpkins for that too, because I hear
Absolutely.
from different staffs that's not always the environment that people are fostering. So it's nice that you can kind of, hey, when I put these things away at the end of the day, I've
Yeah.
put them away. That's great.
Well, one, Coach Simp has been great. He's been awesome. Just to work for, and family is important to him, and so he's made sure that we made the same commitment to our family. But the thing that I realized when I was in Wilmington, we got let go during the pandemic, and what I realized is when it was done, that was the only people there was
Yep.
my family. I was like, I have to change the priority,
Mm-hmm.
and I have to start putting them first. And things really changed at that point.
And that's a message you're preaching to kids too, like your players, is, hey,
Yeah,
take your priorities seriously in life
yeah.
too. So it helps you practice what you preach a little bit too. So that's cool. Uh, any social media accounts that people can follow, and keep up with you guys and the team and all that stuff too?
For me, just my Instagram, Jackie Manuel 5, JACKIEMANUEL 5. I'm on there from time to time,
I got you.
but again, it's a lot of time spent either working or with the family. Yeah.
For anybody who hasn't seen an American University basketball game, what are they missing out on? What's the sales pitch for anyone listening to this who wants to come check the team out?
I mean, come see great basketball. You got an unbelievable coach who played high level basketball, played professionally at a high level, really pouring into our guys, and guys really putting in the time and effort to be really good basketball players. And then, our style of play is exciting. We up and down, scoring a lot of points. Really trying to bring that energy and excitement to the game. So, I mean, come support guys who are doing things the right way and doing it for the love of the game. These guys could easily be focusing on things that wouldn't be good for them or anybody else, but they're putting their time and energy in doing something they love and giving back to the community.
I always think it's great for like teams in the area too. If you're coaching at like a middle school level or things like that too, you can get tickets for cheap and guys can sit up right up close and learn, kind of firsthand. I think that'd be a no-brainer for young kids too.
Great seats. You can see guys up close. You can watch guys develop and get better. And Matt Rogers shoot a lot of threes from deep, dunk the ball. No, it's awesome though. It's a great environment.
Very cool. Yeah. Coach, this was great. Thank you so much for doing this. It was really interesting to me. So I hope everybody listening to this got a kick out of it too. And I like everything you guys are doing with that program. So please keep up the great work. Look forward to following you throughout the rest of the way here. And thanks again.
Matt, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime. All right, everybody, you know the drill. Rate, review, subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube, click that little like button for us. And feel free to leave a review on iTunes or any of that great stuff. We always appreciate it. We're presented by betonline.ag, and we will catch you all next time.